Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Today, excuse me. Today we're going to talk about, or continue to talk about the um, holidays that happen throughout the year through in the Braunhaven region and the Glossian Empire as a whole. And today we are in month 7, so we're in the middle of summer. And the big holiday in that month is the Festival of Midsommer. It is the month of Gulief. So uh, the 7th month is given over to Gulief, who is known as the Celestial Bride, and she is Mother Summer. She is the wife of the King of the Gods, Janus. The two are estranged because uh, Gulief is jealous because Janus seems to spend much of his time with his consort Decus, who, he is the 12th month, and the Festival of Giving is given over to him throughout the entire month of Decus, and so Gulief is, rightfully so. She's pissed off that that Janus is spending all of his time with Decus. But this jealousy and anger can make Gulief somewhat unpredictable, and it's said that when she's in a foul mood because of Janus's behavior with Decus, that mortals actually pay the price for this because it leads to long, hot summers that can last for months on end. Sometimes the summer ends up tending to go all the way into fall. And during these times, droughts are common, the livestock and the crops suffer. And it shows her hot, foul temper. She's generally depicted as a tall woman in a dress woven of grass reeds and wearing a circlet made of pine boughs. But the Festival of Midsummer is Gulief's favorite and beloved holiday, and it is on the solstice where that is commemorated. And it is said by the mortals that it is the hope that the warmth of Gulief is brought into everybody's lives, and it's generally a merry event. So, in the days before the demon plague, Midsummer Solstice, the Festival of Midsummer, was a much bigger to do. Merchant caravans would make their way either from Glaushine down through the valleys. This is before the Imperial Tradeway, of course, and they would come up specifically from all the way from Arabashia. The merchants would make their way along the Eastern Tradeway, and sometimes the dwarves would make their way down from Zlatoheim along the Eastern Tradeway, and they would set up these large festive markets, and where they would trade wares from all over. Occasionally, you would see stuff in these markets that wouldn't normally be made available. Stuff that wasn't necessarily from Zlatoheim or Arabashia. There might be silk merchants that came from Orentis, docked in Arabashia, and then actually made their way. Some of them would make their way along the Eastern Tradeway into the Glossian Empire to do their trade at these markets. Things such as not just silks, but fine porcelain, things of that manner. There was these markets are, aside from trading, are generally a festive affair, and so you would have performers show up, the bards, usually led by bards. They would set up circuses, and there would be, animal acts and song and plays, and usually there would be every evening during this time there would be a large dance that would be held. Lots of ales, wines, and mead to taste and try out. Sausages of every kind. cured meats, uh, pies, you name it. This is also the time when uh, the latest, not only in the form of seeds, but the in cured Ereboscian tobaccos would make their way to the Glossian Empire, and it was these markets that actually prompted the shires of halflings that live in the Braunhaven region to kind of come up with their own little thing. So, and what this little thing is so the halflings of the Braunhaven region are fond of growing pipeweed, and but the halflings were smart and they realized, you can't just sit around all day with a pipe smoking pipeweed and expect to get anything done. That's just the reality. And if you do get things done, you're probably going to sober up later and realize that they weren't done right, or you completely half-assed your way through it. But more likely, you're going to smoke a pipe full of pipeweed and sit down and stare at a tree for a while. So what they came up with was what they call shire smoke, and to this day, shire smoke is sold in many taverns and inns in a 1 ounce leather pouch, and it is a 50-50 mix of Ereboscian pipe tobacco and pipeweed that these halflings, how do you say that word, tobacconists. Anyways, the people that mix tobacco, and they have come up with a pipe blend that is 50% pipeweed and 50% Ereboscian tobacco, and they have discovered that so in Ereboscia, much of Ereboscia today is desert, and so there are a few areas where this tobacco is grown, and it has to be grown along the coastline in the more tropical, not necessarily tropical, but arid regions or less arid regions. Marshlands and tropics is generally where this will grow, and they've discovered that throughout the summer, it actually has the mid-spring through late summer. Tobacco grows very well for the halflings purposes in the Braunhaven region, and so a lot of these seeds are carried along with the cured tobacco with these merchants to these markets, and the halflings would buy them. They would plant them. They've experimented and found the proper growing technique for the Braunhaven region, and so the halflings actually grow their own tobacco. And by this point, in the current age, it has grown to basically be its own strain of tobacco, and can be compared to the Ereboscian tobacco. It is said that the Braunhaven tobacco is quite a bit more mild than the Ereboscian tobacco. For most tobacco connoisseurs, they would think that the Ereboscian tobacco would be of a higher quality. It is a little bit more potent. It is a bit of a stronger smoke, whereas the Braunhaven strain of tobacco is quite a bit more mild, a lighter taste, but it mixes well with the pipeweed to make shire smoke. And so, shire smoke is generally sold, like I said, in all the taverns, inns. You can pick it up at markets, pick it up just about anywhere in any shire that you go to, and people will, after a day's work, or during the Festival of Midsommer, they're probably smoking it all day long. They'll show up at a tavern or inn. They'll have their meal. They'll sit around the fire drinking some ale or mead or wine, and they'll smoke some shire smoke, and that is how the people of the Braunhaven region tend to relax. But the Festival of Midsummer, along with the trade, they will have, in addition to circus for athletic competitions, there's a lot of times I'll have wrestling rings or um, boxing rings set up. Sometimes these athletic competitions can get a little bit crazier. Like you might have a boxing competition where the ringmaster has brought his own champion, and it's a half ogre, and or a half orc, or things of that nature. There are a number of sports such as something akin to soccer or rugby, um, and of course, surrounding practically every other tent is a food and drink tent. So a lot of the taverns and inns will set up tents, you know, showing their wares. Around the town of Braunhaven, for instance, in the current age, um, the innkeeper, Tekka Crackerbottom, a halfling, is known far and wide for her excellent smoked cheeses. And so, the only place to get her cheeses generally is at the Braunhaus Coaching Inn in the town of Braunhaven. And so, a lot of times during these markets, she'll bring out wheels of cheese to sell to people at these food and drink tents. Um, brewmasters and um, uh, distillers will bring their drink. A lot of times you'll find meads all the way from Olasveller in Stagina, or you'll find fine dwarven whiskeys from Zlatoheim. Ales, the Braunhaus Coaching Inn brews its own ale. You'll find Sylvanas wines, both sparkling and regular, from the Sylvanas forest. So it is a big to do. And the festival, during the Demon Plague, the festivals kind of died down. Nobody was in a very merry mood during the Demon Plague. And if you remember from previous episodes, the Demon Plague killed off 2/3 of the Braunhaven region in the Glaucian Empire. So you were either sick or you were depressed. And or you were exceptionally poor, because with the level of people dying, there simply wasn't enough people to till the fields and harvest the crops or do the planting, and or really manage livestock. So a lot of the livestock may have escaped into the countryside and gone feral. There are cases of wild aurochs um, in the countryside, and which is peculiar because aurochs are a type of cattle that are, for the most part, domesticated. You don't see them very often wild, but you do in the Braunhaven region because the Demon Plague, many of them got out. Wild boars, things of that nature. So it was a problem, and the Festival of Midsummer kind of just went by the wayside. A lot of the Ereboshian traders, or Rentis traders, they weren't interested in coming through a region that was enveloped in a deadly plague, especially one as virulent as this. It didn't take very long or very many of these Ereboshian traders to die off before they just said, you know what, we're not going anymore. There were towns to the east, cities to the east, that closed their gates entirely, just kind of waiting this thing out because they didn't want any traders coming back. And so the festival just kind of died off. But in the current age, and we'll be getting to that. That's going to be the next segment that we'll do. Is we're going to be focusing on the town of Braunhaven, but it was really Tekka Crackerbottom in the Braunhaven region that's kind of brought back the Festival of Midsummer. And so the festivities aren't quite as big in the current age as they were in years past, or ages past. but it is starting to make a comeback, and so there are these large markets and festivals that are set up around the town of Braunhaven in the month of Julief that are dedicated to the Festival of Midsummer. And for the most part, it's mostly local people and maybe a couple of traders that are coming their way up from Arabashi or down from Zlatoheim. Um, Generally, those traders, when this started, the traders just happened to be heading through at that time and decided to set up shop. But now, because they are doing it on a regular basis, the word is spreading, and so a lot of these traders are starting to make plans specifically for the Festival of Midsummer, and so it is slowly making a comeback. There are traders that come down all the way from the capital city of Glauschein. Not not so much. There is some traffic that comes up from the old Imperial Port. Not a lot, because officially the Imperial Port is closed. And that'll be another segment as well. The official word is the Imperial Port is closed and abandoned. But that is not necessarily entirely true. There are black markets, I guess is the best way of putting it, that are selling goods, not necessarily their own goods, but other people's goods that have been liberated. They fell off the back of a wagon. And so there are some traders that make their way up the Imperial Tradeway from the south, but for the most part, it's going to be east and west along the Eastern Tradeway. And so, yeah, it is making a comeback. That's something that people are starting to look forward to in the middle of the midsummer, that one of the hottest points of the year, which, to be honest, in the Braunhaven region, the summer, as you can see, the Glaucian Empire kind of sits in this valley kind of area between a rather large mountain range and what they call the Gray Hills off to the east. It's not. It's a really rather temperate region. The weather, though, because it is a because it is a valley region, the weather systems can be a little bit unpredictable. But in the summer, you're not talking about weather that gets, generally it doesn't usually get above 90 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. But in the winter, it can get rather cold. You usually do see snow. But mostly you're going to see a lot of rain. But yeah, you usually do see snow throughout the region. But in the summer, I mean, middle of summer, you're talking 90, 95 degrees is the hottest weather that it's going to get, which to the people that live there is quite warm. They're not, that 95, that's hot. So that is the Festival of Midsummer and the month of Julief. Next episode, we will be in the month of Agaron, which is the 8th month, and the holiday will be Mornshadas. So catch us next time, and thank you for watching.